The past 2 years have been some of the most challenging that we've experienced in decades, if not our entire lives. As in most parts of the world, the pandemic in Italy brought the country to a complete lockdown in early 2020, and since then it's cycled in and out of various levels of restrictions. As a church, we focused on staying united and encouraged in the Lord as we sought new ways to stay connected for prayer and Bible study. When churches were finally permitted to meet in person again, we were greeted by Maietta, who had recently been saved and had found our church through our live stream services. It's been a joy to see him grow and desire to follow the Lord. Not long after that, we met Georgia. She contacted us after finding our online services as well. She had been seeking the Lord through the difficult times we were all experiencing. Jenny and I had the privilege of sitting down with Georgia and her husband, and they accepted Christ. During this time, God also sent us a wonderful, faithful family in the Campanellas. These blessings, along with many others, have led us to conclude that God clearly has a plan in this world and in each of our lives. In fact, throughout the scriptures, this prominent principle is clearly evident. God has a plan. From Genesis all the way to the account of the heavenly city in Revelation, we can clearly see God unfolding his plan for our salvation and our relationship to him. In the midst of God's immense and beautiful plan, we see that he works in and through the lives of individuals. The experiences of Joseph, Moses, David, and even through each of our own lives, this precious principle remains true. God is working on his plan even when we can't see it. The ministry in Grosseto certainly attests to this fact. We see God's hand working by his leading my mother's family from southern Italy to the central region of Tuscany during her teen years. Eventually, both my parents immigrated to the States. God's gracious hand begins to become evident when a young Christian man, Paul Volle, began witnessing door to door in the Chicago area. That led to my mother's salvation in 1969. Thus the Lord entered our family. We also see God's guidance in the decision my parents made to move our family back to Italy in 1986. This is where I learned the Italian language and became a dual citizen. When the Lord led Jenny and I to Italy as missionaries with our young family in 2006, we had no idea we would end up in the same city where the Lord had led my mother during her teen years, and where I had attended junior high school and learned to speak Italian. The small group of believers we met upon our arrival had been praying for 20 years for a church to be started in Grosseto. In fact, all the early fruit and the establishment of the church in Grosseto itself attest to the fact that God had been working long before we ever arrived in Italy. Throughout the years, God's hand of blessing allowed us to see many come to Christ and the Chiesa Biblica Battista to grow. We've also been privileged to help in other church ministries around Italy. Though we don't know what circumstances we may face as we move forward, we can be confident that God has not abandoned his plan. He is still working in Italy and around the world for his glory. We, being in the way, seek his guidance in following the plan he has laid out for us. Furthermore, the Lord is working in your life and wants to work through you so that others can enter into a relationship with God through the gospel. Your prayers are vitally important to the ministry in Italy. Your sacrificial giving allows us to live on the field. But more than anything, we would love you to join us here at home or in Italy so we can work together as part of God's great plan.